The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 2, Reading and Viewing. It addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to demonstrate various reading and viewing strategies for comprehension and appreciation. Learners should be able to infer the meaning of unfamiliar words or images in familiar contexts by using knowledge of grammar, word attack skills, contextual clues, sound, color, design, placement, and by using the senses.
Oh, hi there. I've just been reading some more Shakespeare. Now, you may think that Shakespearean English is old-fashioned or dated, but you would be surprised to find out how much Shakespearean language is used every day. In this lesson, we are going to look at some of the expressions that Shakespeare created that are still used today. I'm sure that you will be amazed at how often you quote Shakespeare without even realizing it. We are also going to look at some super examples of expressions used in Shakespeare's plays that show his wit and creativity. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to recognize some popular expressions coined by Shakespeare and be familiar with some creative uses of language in Shakespeare's plays. Let's look at an expression Shakespeare coined. It disappeared into thin air. When you say this, you mean that something disappeared from sight suddenly, without you being able to see where it went. It would be impossible for something to literally disappear into the air. Yet, by using this expression, a mental picture is created. What about this expression that Shakespeare coined? If you try to persuade someone to do something and they refuse, you may say, "He refused to budge." Even if you aren't literally pushing the person, the idea that is implied is that they literally refused to move. So these expressions originally appeared in Shakespearean plays, but they have become part of our idiomatic language, or the expressions that we use. Shakespeare was a master of creating clever, original expressions, and many of them are used today. Have a look at this. "I'm really in a pickle. I didn't sleep a wink last night. The game is up, and the long and the short of it is that I've seen better days." All of the expressions used in that extract first appeared in Shakespeare's plays, yet have become part of many people's everyday expressions, even if they don't realize where they come from. What is important to realize from this is firstly how popular Shakespeare's expressions are, but also to realize how using too many of these expressions too often makes what you are saying seem cliched. Here's a helpful tip: avoid using cliched Shakespearean expressions. One of the best places to see examples of Shakespeare's wit that have not become cliched is to consider the insults that are used in his plays. These days, when you are angry with someone or you want to insult them, you may swear at them or say something ugly. But look at these creative ways to insult people. The first line we are going to consider is taken from Macbeth. "Whose horrible image doth unfix my hair and make my seated heart knock at my ribs?" Here, the witches are being described, but instead of just saying that they are scary, these lines mean that it was such a horrible experience for Macbeth that it unfixed his hair, meaning that his hair was standing on end, and it made his heart knock at his ribs, meaning that his heart was beating out of control. The next time someone scares you, why not tell them that they are so scary that they are unfixing your hair? Here is another insulting description of the witches. you secret black and midnight hags. Now this line is not quite as dramatic as the previous one. However, by using 3 adjectives, secret, black, and midnight, and by referring to the witches as hags, we know exactly how the speaker feels about the witches. Here is another line taken from the play Julius Caesar, and it is also an insult about somebody's appearance. See if you can work it out. Where wilt thou find a cavern dark enough to mask thy monstrous visage? Like a lot of Shakespeare's expressions, the meaning and wit might not be immediately apparent, but if we first define the tricky words, the meaning becomes clearer. Cavern means cave, and mask means to hide. Monstrous means ugly. And lastly, visage is your face. So in more simple language, the expression means, where will you find a cave dark enough to hide your ugly face? I think that is quite a witty insult. And it's definitely more original than, you're ugly and your mother dresses you funny. In Shakespearean plays, it is not just the appearance of characters that are mocked or insulted, but sometimes their actions too. Have a look at this line from Romeo and Juliet. How is this insulting? You kiss by the book. What does it mean to do something by the book? If you do something by the book, it means you stick to the rules and you don't do anything wrong. Here, though, instead of praising someone by telling him that he kisses by the book, the speaker is implying that the kisses are without passion. Perhaps that's a line you can use when you break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend next time. Here is another line from Romeo and Juliet. What is insulting about this one? She speaks, yet she says nothing. You may have told someone before that they talk a lot of nonsense. This line means almost the same thing because it implies that while the person may be opening his or her mouth, he or she may as well be saying nothing because what is being said has no sense or value. But before you start to think that Shakespeare was only good at writing insults, let's take a quick look at some of the expressions of love spoken by characters in Shakespeare's plays. Some lines from Shakespeare's plays, and even more so his sonnets, were such creative and special expressions of love that they are still quoted today. Here is an example from Romeo and Juliet, the most well-known love story in the world.
See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
In these lines, Romeo declares that he wishes he were a glove. Now, maybe you are thinking, what's so romantic about being a glove? Well, Romeo wishes to be a glove because Juliet is touching her hand to her cheek. And if he were the glove, it would be him touching that cheek. Wow, that was really romantic. What makes this line especially romantic is that it's so fresh and original. It is not something we expect to hear, like a pickup line that has been used over and over again. We can also form a mental picture of a woman leaning her hand up against her cheek. Here is another extract from Romeo and Juliet. Again, the line works well because of the image that it creates in our minds. This bud of love, by summer's ripening breath, may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. What picture comes to mind as you read these lines? The idea that is conveyed in these lines is that their love is just beginning, but it has the potential to turn into something more. This ties in well with the idea of a beautiful rosebud that during the summertime turns into something even more beautiful in the heat of summer. What I hope you have realized from watching this lesson is how many of Shakespeare's expressions have become part of our everyday language. From having a look at some of the insults and romantic expressions that he also wrote, we have been able to see even more of his creativity. Don't be put off by what may seem like complicated language at first. Find simpler synonyms for the tricky words and you will be able to see the message. Now it's time for the task. Here are some more expressions that are used in everyday language that were originally coined by Shakespeare. Do you know what they mean? Compare the answers to that of a friend. It was cold comfort. I knitted my brows. It was high time. To act more in sorrow than in anger. The wish is father to the thought. I wonder how many of those expressions you have used before without realizing that you were quoting Shakespeare. See you next time.